What's up, YouTube? Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be teaching you the right way to make a social media slider post using Photoshop. There's a lot of ways to do it the wrong way, and when you do it the wrong way, it just takes a lot of time. It's going to cause you a headache. So I want you to learn how to do it the right way. Before we get started, I just want to encourage anyone who's watching this and has tried to conquer social media or do a good job for your clients and just can't seem to get a hang of it. It is such a beast. Even personally, it can be really exhausting. But I just want to say, keep trying, keep going. Your effort's worth it. And hopefully today's video will make things a little bit easier for you when you're trying to create cool Instagram sliders. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. All right, so we're here in Photoshop, and we're going to go ahead and start by creating a new document. So we know that in general, I'll go ahead and create this for an example. We know that in general, social media posts for something like Instagram, the minimum size requirements are 1080 by 1080, which is what we've got here. And so what we want to do is we want to create essentially multiple of these squares so that people can slide through them on Instagram. Now, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of bad ways to do this. I'll show you one of those, and that is by doing artboards in Photoshop. This is not a good idea. Let's say you want to put an image in the background. If you try to scale it up and make it cross a bunch of these artboards, so you would think this would cover all of them. If we click enter, it'll only be on the first slider. And then if I want to put it in the second one, oh look, now it's duplicated that, so I have to try and maybe find the right spot here, and then it's just super clunky. So we're not going to do it this way by creating multiple artboards. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a new document. And so we know that we're starting by 1080 by 1080. And so say I want 3 different squares for my slider. I'm just going to do Shift 8, which makes a little star, and then 3, and I'll click enter. There we go. So now I have the width of 3 of those squares, but they're not divided into squares. So here's where I want to introduce you to the slices tool. The slices tool is awesome. Most people don't know how to use it, but it's really helpful. If you click C, it opens up this slice. If you click C and it gives you the crop tool, that's normal. Just Shift C will cycle through your different tools here. So you want to make sure you're on the slice tool and not on the slice select tool. So I'm just going to go to the top left, and I'm going to hold Shift, and it's going to lock me into a square. And then I'm going to drag here, do it again by clicking and then holding Shift, clicking and holding Shift. And so now we actually have 3 slices, which are all perfect squares. So later when we export this, it's going to recognize this should be one file, this should be another file, and this should be another one, which should make it a lot easier for us to use our slider and to have different elements going across. So to save the legwork, I've already actually created a slider that I would like to show you just to give you an example. So something that I like to do a lot is I like to take an image, especially one that's kind of got some grain to it, because that's kind of interesting and it's sort of trendy. I'll just take it and turn it on its side. So this is an image of just a dead chair in front of a window, which is pretty basic. But when you do something like what I did in this other one, where you turn it on its side and you blow it up, now it's a lot more abstract, especially when people are viewing it just as this. That's all they see at a time. And so it's kind of interesting. Also, kind of the idea that you want to go for on an Instagram slider is you want to pull people through the different posts. And so that's why for here on our first one, I make sure that something from my second post is bleeding in here so that there will be a clear understanding for people. There's more, they just need to slide. And then I even have this little line down here that goes across the whole thing. And really, this is just me being silly and just creating filler content, essentially. But I see I'm kind of employing that technique to where I always have a little hint of what's coming that'll help pull the viewer through to the next page. So that's the general overview of how to create it. The benefit with this is that if you're trying to use those old artboard trick, you're not going to be able to get things to overlap very easily, which is what makes, I think, an Instagram slider work. And so for this, it's really easy just to have a shape overlap because you're essentially just working with one giant canvas. And so now when you want to export, the way that I prefer to do this is to do the file, and then you can do export, and then you're going to click save for web. This is an old version, so why it says legacy, but it still works great. So the shortcut, if you want to know it, is Shift Option Command S. You got to use 4 fingers there. It might take some work, but now we see that our canvas here is broken up into those different artboards. I can select them. So if I just wanted to export one, say I'd already exported it and I went back and changed the title on the first one, I can just click that. And then when I click save, I can choose in my settings, instead of exporting all slices, just the user selected slices. So that's not what I want to do. I want to export all of them. And so we know that our size is right. Like it says the height is 1080 and the width is correct as well. So we'll click save. I'm just going to go to my desktop and we'll click there. We'll say Insta slider example. That's great. And then I'll click save. All right. So now if we open our Finder on the desktop, we will see that we have this folder called images. And so within images, I have each of my different posts as their own square. And then I can bring that over to my phone and post it on Instagram really easily. So hopefully this makes things a little bit easier when it comes to creating a slider. I'm not going into so much of the design, but the main tips I have for you are to find ways to bring your viewer across the composition and across each of the different images, and also I would say, don't leave all your like best content if you're posting about some kind of an event. Like I wouldn't put your event details all the way here on the right. People might just scroll through it. So think about what needs to go on the front one, what's most important to be seen, and then allow them to be drawn into the rest of your content. So this is a really simple way to make Instagram sliders. I hope it's helped you, because doing it the wrong way is just really exhausting. So that's all I've got for today. Feel free to like the video or subscribe, and you'll see more content coming your way soon.